But anyways, the thing is, I'm
You sure?
graduating uni soon, so either ways, I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
So I stop
You're
editing. I'm dipping,
That's a
bro.
great segue into our topic of today, because our topic is education. Thank you, Yosha.
Wow.
Thank you, Yosha. That's,
Exactly.
you did great.
I appreciate you. Know, I'm just trying to help out. You know?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be a man of the people. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let me explain a little bit. Like I thought about this. I was talking to my wife, Xiao. Everyone should know that now that listens. If you haven't, you know now. Because I was wondering about like what could we talk about the podcast that would be interesting, and something that comes up so often. I think when me and her talk is like education, like what's like what works, what doesn't work. You know, learning a new skill. What did you learn in school that you actually uses? You know, like all of these things. So I thought it would be really interesting to discuss this a little bit. See what you guys think. You know, we got the Spaniard from the Spanish system. We got the, what would I call you? Nigerian.
Yeah.
Exactly. We got a Nigerian. I blanked on the verb of the countryman.
yeah.
And we got the Swedish system. And I think it'd be interesting to see kind of like, is there any difference, or are we all just learning the same thing?
I mean, probably from like the three countries you mentioned now, the automatic thought would be like your system is better, the Swedish one, right? Would be like kind of like, oh, that's the best.
From the stereotype, maybe, yeah.
European.
What people,
that
because
stereotype.
everyone hypes the Nordic countries, right? They don't know, they
Yeah.
just hear stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
everyone is happy and everything's great.
Yeah.
Kind of true.
That's like the cliche, right?
That's a cliche.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's really interesting, and also the whole topic of what do you do after school, which I mean, like when you're done with I don't know, 13th grade, 12th grade, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Like, should you go to university? Should you study a bachelor, a master, a PhD?
Or nothing.
I mean, none of us has a PhD, so we can't really talk about that. But or should you start working? Should you take a gap year? I mean, so many choices, right? And especially if you're 18 now, you probably have, it's like hard to know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
what's the right way? What's the wrong way? And is there a wrong way?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would say, talking about school, so at least my high school was very different, because it was like we went to boarding school. So that was, which is not normal apparently, but I think
Yeah, what is a boarding school? You want to quickly summarize that?
so boarding
I
school.
don't even know.
Boarding school basically is this whole. Boarding school is
Sounds scary.
nah. It's just a school where the kids basically the kids live there at the school location.
Doesn't sound exciting to me.
Yeah, it was super fun. Like,
So the parents are pretty much like, okay, you're gone for a while now.
yeah, exactly. So we were gone for, I think, 3 months at a time, 3 to 4 months at a time, and then we would come back for a month and a half, 2 months for summer, I think, and then we would be gone. So most of the year we were at school, but it was super fun because you get to do it with some like other people your age group. So for obviously your year, you guys all are probably all the same age, and then you have 6 years of that. So from 7th grade till 12th grade, right? So you have, yeah, exactly.
Would you like your kids to do the same?
100%. My parents did it.
100%?
I think it seems like a win-win.
Is there no? Well, I
No,
guess
so, but I think stupid is because I would never want to do that.
There are
But
pros
why?
and cons. There are
Why
pros
would
and cons to
you?
it.
Why would you want to do that?
I think it's actually fun. You get to grow up. I guess the individual, like the kid, gets to see life from a different perspective, and the kid also gets to, I don't know, be more self-aware, know how to relate with other people, and make decisions on their own. I think for me, it was just a quick wake-up call of knowing, okay, I guess you're not completely alone, because the school creates so many systems that make it super easy for you to live a life. So it's not like you're thrown into the world. It's kind of like a controlled system. You still have to, like, they make it so easy that it's like everything is set. It's just more of like going through the motions. So it's not like, oh, this is the full real world. It wasn't like necessarily the real world. It was kind of this closed box they created.
Right.
However, it was really good, you know?
Like, but don't you feel like you missed maybe like that, like with your parents, like that time?
No.
I don't know, like,
I think my parents I think my mom probably felt it after, when she was like, because what happened, it was like, I left at 10. So I left at 10 turning 11.
You left at 10?
I left at 10.
Wait, so as a parent, you get 10 years with your kid, and then it's gone.
Yeah, and then you get months with them. So we would fly to the place.
That's crazy.
We would
Fly, wow.
Yeah, so we would fly. It was like maybe an hour away, 2 hours.
And
an
there's
hour and a half.
8 years until you send Joy away.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then we would be back every couple of months. So I was the first person, and then my sister came 2 years after I did. 3 years, yeah, 2 years after I did, and then my brother came, I think, 6 years, 5 years after my sister did.
I think, all right, I have some mixed thoughts about it. I think like it can be good. Like I look at you and I'm like, man, like you're a great, like, I mean, super independent, like great guy, like, you know, like moving forward type of person, moving your life. But I think it can go also totally the other way, because you are like, I don't know, like if I think when I was that age, if I would have not had my parents at all and I just do whatever I want, it also could have been gone like totally.
Yeah, but you couldn't do whatever you want. But so those are the
It's
two
very
things.
strict, right?
Exactly. So you couldn't. That's the first thing. You couldn't do whatever you want, or you wanted, and your parents were kind of Your parents were kind of assured that things would happen in a particular way. So they kind of already knew the system the school went through, and obviously, like it's still fun and jokes.
Okay.
I think for me it was really cool because you get this opportunity to build really deep relationships. The relationships that I built with those
The
friends,
yeah.
you never can build it anywhere else because you guys are
Yeah.
living together for 6 years. And the thing is,
That's
I
cool.
think for a long time they didn't allow people jump in, so you couldn't come in like midway through the year. So the only people that you have are the people who've been there from the beginning.
Right.
So the relationship is very, very different. It's like 6 years of just going through different
Is
experiences.
it mixed
stacked
boys
on-
and girls?
It's mixed boys and girls, but we don't all obviously live in the same place. The boys have their hostels, the girls have their hostels. Most times it's on the opposite side of each other of the school, but the school is super big. It's like in the middle of a forest.
Because
So
I'm
it's
like, if this was in Sweden, everyone would just be dating like constantly.
yeah, people were dating. It's like people dated and
Because
obviously
it's like
people
such
break up
a
as well.
it's like a summer camp for
for
years, right?
Exactly,
Long summer.
exactly. But it was really fun, and compared to day school, I just find day school super boring, and I get like, which honestly I think is something different. But after a while, I got tired of my parents. You know, like I can't be around them too long because I'm just used to not being around so long. Because immediately after that, I went to university.
Okay, but side then, like if you do this, do you have the possibility to do hobbies?
Yes, you do.
Like could you start gaming?
Okay, so that's the other side of it. From that perspective, we didn't have. So we had no phones. We had no. Obviously, we did have PCs and stuff, but they were for the school, and we would like have opportunities to access them. You could call your parents like on the weekends, but we had no phones. We had no devices.
So maybe nowadays, if it's more modern now, it would maybe have a way to learn programming in school or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But we always had those opportunities. So that's the thing. I think the school did a really good job of creating a lot of extracurricular activities. Like we always had stuff to do, whether it was like playing football, basketball. I was in scouts. We had camping. We did. I think my school currently has the Guinness World Record of the largest Ludo board ever.
Largest what?
Ludo. Do you guys know Ludo? The game? It's kind of like a board game, except they created a real life one that's probably as big as this apartment. So between here, there, and then they invited the Guinness World Book of Records to record
Really?
it.
That's
yeah,
cool.
and we have it. We have
so random.
the largest Guinness World Book of Record, and I was like part of the guys that like made the thing. It's like super fun, but all those things they create, because it's like it gets to fill up your life with things. So all the way from art, so they like create super fun stuff to like planning parties. Like we would be the ones that would plan our parties. We would select the. So it was just a hopeful. The social life is definitely way better than
I'm thinking if
day school.
if this even is if this is legal in Europe.
It is. It's called like I know
Is
in
it a
Germany they
thing
have
here?
it. Yeah,
Yeah?
it's called internat.
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 Yeah,
but I think
true.
I just
I
think
heard
it's
about that.
expensive, but
But
for
I
example,
think-
here they see it like it's not nice, so it's not cool.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
how I don't know if here like this with the devices, mobile and phones and everything like that. I don't know how is that really gonna make it if they do it like that also in Germany or like
What do you mean,
you
like-
cannot have your phone with you, stuff like that.
I mean, I think it could work like the time you're in school, right? Maybe you can use your phone in your room, but not outside. I don't know.
Yeah, but I personally I also don't think kids actually genuinely need their phones.
No,
Like,
no, I agree, but that's
like-
more like interesting, like how to approach that.
How to
the whole
approach that.
But
so-
also, you like honestly, you come out then from the internat and you don't know anything about the world.
Nah, but that's not necessarily true because you still get information. That's which is what you would think.
But
it's
you don't
not-
have TikTok,
no, you
so you don't know anything of what the other people in your age
no,
look
because
at.
everybody kind of knows because we would still browse the internet because
Oh,
we
you
would
do?
have we still have. So for example, the school would have like computer rooms and places
Okay.
that you can go use the internet. So you would probably have like sessions 2 or 3 times in the week.
Okay.
Or you could use. So you have to. I used to email my parents consistently,
Right.
right? So that was my first email. Was I think I also made it when I was 10, and
It's
it
just
was
a
like
little bit more structured.
yeah, exactly. It's just a little bit more
Interesting.
structured. So everything you still have access to it. So it's not like, oh, we lock you out of life. It's just
Okay.
more of like,
And this is so interesting. Like this could be a whole podcast.
Yeah.
I didn't think about this.
Yeah, exactly. Did you ever ask your parents why did they send you there?
no, I feel like they felt like it was vital for growing as a person. They both did it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I feel like this is something you only do if your parents did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just pass it on.
Yeah, exactly. And I would recommend it too as well, personally speaking, just because, first of all, it's more fun for the kid. Like, it sounds dumb, but I think kids who come out from day school just come out just struggling. At least in what I compared it to, because I have different perspectives, right? Because my parents or my family runs schools, right? So they have like 2 different schools that they run. And obviously, it's a day school. And I see the kids who come out of that, and I see the kids who come out,
Yeah.
and you just get to compare because I have a better perspective. And I'm like, I think the kids who have the opportunity to be in that scenario relate with people their age and people who can call them out. That's the thing as well. Like, I couldn't necessarily be talking anyhow with my friends. So, for example, you could misbehave a bit with your parents, but when you're with your friends, they're just like, bro, why you misbehaving? They just walk away. And then you kind of have to learn how to, okay, how do I relate to other people? How do I communicate properly? How do I work in a team? You know, how do we manage different characters? So, for example, maybe this
Yeah.
guy is super alpha, this guy is super like chill, doesn't say anything in the group, right? So, learning how to work around those things.
Is that a non-negotiable for you to send your kids to boarding school?
I think so, yeah.
That's gonna minimize your dating pool.
I don't think so. I think.
What do you mean you don't think so?
No, I just think I'll probably pick a girlfriend that doesn't think that's weird.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a small pool.
You think so?
Can
I
you
think
imagine?
so.
Can you
I think
imagine
I think I
In
felt-
Europe, that's I don't know anyone.
coffee date? Just one question.
Before we start, would you want to send away your kid when you're 10?
No, it's not like they're not sent a week. Come on, guys.
Bro,
It's
they're
like
gone.
They'll be back every 3 months. Every 3 months they'll be back for like a month and a half, and then they go again.
I'm just saying, you gotta.
No, I think like
You
I'll
know what I'm
never. I think it's an interesting topic. I think it's interesting to hear also how you experience that.
Honestly, for me, it was super because the things that we got to do, but also even from the troublemaking side. Like it was like you become such a troublemaker in a different way, but also you learn how to. Like I learned so many. You have different life experiences. Like it's just way better. Whereas I feel like with day school is the same cycle. It's the same friends. It's the same like doing drugs or going somewhere. The same movie. Come eat dinner. It was just like super. You don't get to be in different scenarios again.
I mean,
It's the same.
everyone doesn't do drugs.
No, I'm not saying that, but like at least what I took away was like it's easier to get into those scenarios because you are exposed to kind of like that's kind of the cool thing that was happening. Whereas for us it was we had no access to those things because everything was kind of blocked off. So I just feel like they put good vices around us, and even the trouble.
Can it be more like a dictatorship, right? Like a country that don't have access. You're a little bit a North Korea fan, right? Then like better to not have access than.
No, I'm just saying because at the end of the day, it's like I think everybody should have access. But I think when kids are slowly growing into different things, you want to be conscious about how much access you give them per time. I don't think I'm not a fan of
Exactly.
like
Yeah,
from the
it's-
beginning everything. It's more of like okay, you get everything in time.
Yeah.
So slowly start like
I think that's
exposing.
fair.
I agree in that term that sense that we exposed to kids too early to many things,
Yeah.
and usually through friends showing something on the phone. Like my wife Sheila, she worked in a school as well for a few years, and like usually like kids with 10, 11, they already have seen so many things that they should not see.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to like lots of things from like that, it just happens. Like just from a friend, always someone always gonna have
It's
access
always that
early.
one friend
Yeah.
that maybe it's
Yeah.
from the parents or from the brother or something, but they will pass on
Yeah.
the
Yeah, always.
stuff. Yeah.
Like the average age of kids that watches porn or has started watching porn is like 8 or something.
Yeah,
or 9.
and I think like right now it's also like with studies proven that your brain is not fully developed to understand certain things until you you cannot see these things in a mature way. So that's causing already trauma on a kid
Yeah.
from an early age.
Yeah.
And I think and probably the parents don't even know.
Yeah. And they are there, so it's like you have a kid who is around but he's never really around. Do you get what I mean?
But that's a very tricky topic talking about like school then, like how you navigate school, because school should be there to also educate about these things. But if you're not in a boarding school, you can't protect them to not know it at all, which means that these schools should or technically needs to talk about those things already in age 10, right?
Yeah.
Because if we know that they already
Yeah.
will know everything,
You
then
might as
someone
well.
needs to talk about
Yeah,
it. Of course,
exactly.
the parent would be the best,
Mhm.
but you can't
I think-
expect
I think
every parent to do it, right?
But to be honest, nowadays the role of the parent should be way more ahead than the school.
Yeah, you have to be.
You have to be.
It should, but I mean, I'm from Sweden, right? So it's
Yeah, yeah.
very like socialistic, and I believe that the school should, like, the system should be there and fill all the gaps
Mhm.
that, you know, like, because like a kid that grows up with parents that are not the best should not just be, you know, going bad.
Okay, but let's combine now. Let's say the kid grows up with parents that are the best, and also with a school that is not the best.
Yeah.
So what's left then?
But I always think that the parents will have the stronger voice in the kid.
Mhm.
Like maybe the
Yeah.
kid won't care until they're like
Mhm.
20, but I don't believe that what your parent says just disappears because the world happens. I don't think so. I
I
think
don't
it's
think
very
so as well.
strong.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that the gap is always gonna be there, a gap, and then someone's gonna try to fill that.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
it's not your parents, it's gonna be the school. If it's not the school, it's gonna be the friends. If it's not the, so someone's
Yeah.
always gonna have like this. You are highly influenceable when you are a kid.
Yeah. Too much.
Remember, like the
For sure.
teachers that you like,
you
they
really
have
like them.
so much influence on your life
Yeah.
because you admire them so much.
Yeah.
But so it's such a crucial age to also model or shape that kid,
Yeah.
right? So all of
Yeah.
us, we probably, if you look back, you always can think about that specific people that really influences, have a strong influence on us, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I'm saying. Like if the parent doesn't, like right now, like Sheila is listening audiobooks and reading a lot about the brain development of a child and all these things, and then she shares that with me. But if I'm not, like, I'm thinking about like it's so much information right now that you can learn that maybe our parents or our grandparents didn't have before,
No, they didn't.
right? And I think like, so for us to learn that right now is so important with, if we want to really do the best we can,
Yeah.
because the information is there.
Yeah.
Like simple things, like for example, Joy's now going through this whole tantrums thing. Like she throws herself to the floor, start crying, and you can't reason with her,
Yeah.
like in a dialogue or anything.
Yeah. You can't.
Two generations ago, someone would slap her, right?
Exactly. So years ago, someone would slap her or start shouting at her, right? And like maybe grandparents did that to my parents, and that and everything they learned. But right now, in that book was saying like, imagine as an adult, would you ever go to someone that is crying and shout at that person or hit them? Like, why are you crying?
Exactly.
You know? And I think so.
Maybe some people
What's the
do.
funniest question to ask?
Some people do, but
But let's
that's
say,
because they grew up like that, right?
yeah. But let's say Joshua comes here and starts crying, right? Like we're not gonna be like shouting at him. We're gonna be trying to understand what's going on. And I think that
I
helped me
would
a
kick
lot.
him out of my house. No, I'm kidding.
No, but that helped me a lot to understand. Okay,
Yeah.
that's something I can deal with in a different way. Now that I know that.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. How do you find the balance then between, like, no, this behavior is not this behavior is not okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that you have the emotions, but what you're doing with these emotions is not okay.
Yeah. It's like the
How
kind
do you,
of
how
what's
do you
the fine
guide that?
line?
Yeah, it is not okay, but you need to know they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't have the ability to or the strategy to express what they are trying to say.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I think Joy is just super smart. Like in my opinion,
She
like
seems very
she
smart.
she just really, because the feeling because I've seen her a bit honest, like she's just really, she knows what she's doing. She's just super smart. She knows, she's just waiting. She's waiting. She's super, like in my opinion, she's super aware of everything that's going on.
I know, like she's exactly, and that's also for me to understand. Okay, she's developed in one area, but she doesn't know how to express that really well.
Yeah.
And for example, another thing that in that book of the development of the brain was saying that they studied now in the brain what connections neurology I don't know
Neurology?
No, yeah.
neurology connections do you have then, and what activity creates physical pain.
Uh-huh.
And they studied that it's the same connections and the same reflection in your brain when you have psychological pain.
It's the same connection.
Exactly,
If
it happens
you
in the
can
same
hit,
area,
If someone says something bad about you and you get hit,
and
it's the same.
happens exactly in the same area.
Interesting.
So let's say she's having a meltdown and I'm ignoring her. That does as much hurt
As
as if I would
slap her.
slap her.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
So that's what I'm saying. That helps me a lot to understand. Okay, what can I do? How can I do my role as a dad better if I know these things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what was coming from. Like the role of the parents right now is so crucial because we have so much more information about it.
That also shows how much responsibility a kid is, right?
Yeah.
Because you ignoring it for some years wouldn't feel that weird, but it is like very bad to like ignore your kid, right?
Yeah.
And you don't even know what you're causing to your child.
Right. And
Right?
in your head, maybe you don't do anything, but
Yeah.
not doing anything can be very.
And it happens to me sometimes. Like I come from work, I get home, I'm
Yeah.
tired, and then it's like this whole thing. I'm like, you know what? Just get over it.
Yeah.
But maybe for me, it is annoying to have a child crying and shouting. It's super loud. It's
Exactly.
really annoying. But like I'm gonna try maybe next time to put my hand around and say like, it's gonna be okay, or just for her to know that I'm there. But it would not be my first natural reaction to do.
100%. I would
You
probably
know?
just ask like.
That
why
makes me
you
think
crying?
about when we went, because we went each year on car trips to the north to our family, and it was like 12-hour drive, and after doing some drives, like because me and my sister was always fighting in the back, so after some years my dad brought these big Peltor headphones that covers the sound, and he just put them on, he just drove the whole way.
What?
Yeah, so funny.
Oh,
It was
man.
before noise cancelling, you know. So you had-
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that's funny.
But-
Driving.
But is that safe
But
for
he
driving?
didn't ignore us in the rest of the life. But in the
Yeah,
car
yeah.
trip, he ignored us.
Yeah.
That's so good.
No, I think I don't know. What I find very interesting about this topic is I feel like for us in our family it was always just like the underlying mindset that we were told when we grew up is like no matter what happens, like good or bad scenarios will just be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think I don't know how it was, but I think for me it was always that was one of the things that really shaped me a lot. It was just like, yeah, they're not good scenarios, they're not bad scenarios, they were tough scenarios, they were amazing scenarios, but despite everything, you'll be fine. And I think it was just also a mindset that I think that helped in being able to deal with a lot of things. So it's like internal, external, trauma, stress, physical pain, mental pain, psychological pain.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't think I would express it like that, but it was this the only thing to me as a parent that I think is 100% your responsibility in terms of education when we come back to it, is that you have to basically, at least for me, how it was like, I feel like my parents gave us the belief that you can 250+% do everything you want to do. Like that belief system. And if that belief system is in you, that whatever you put your head, your mind into, the rest of it really is just like application, right? It's just taking action in what direction. So whether that's sports, whether that's coding, whether that's math. But it was this whole thing of like, you kind of have to have that unrealistic belief as a kid that you could do anything. And the only person who can beat it into your brain is your parents. Because your school will never do it the same way. Like nobody can look at you in your eye and be like, look in the mirror, you see that person, and like, because there was conversations that our mom used to have with us at the time, like when we were kids. I didn't get it at the time of just like consistently repeating, do you know who you are? Do you know who your dad is? Do you know who your granddad is? And like those conversations of like, at the time it was like, yeah, whatever what she's saying. But thinking about it right now is those small things that allow you to have experiences that have that feedback loop of like, okay, maybe I'm actually not as horrible.
You know another thing connected to that I read in that book that was, well, Sheila read it and she told me
Yeah, right.
that was they're also saying one really good way to praise your kid when you praise something that they're doing good is to focus a lot more on the effort that they're doing than on the natural talent that they have.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then that's going to help them more in their life in the future
True.
to know that the effort that they do for things is more valuable than the natural talent, let's say for music, for something creative.
Because
And
we're wired to share on the result, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah,
For
so I
sure.
think that
Yeah.
little things like that really help. That really helps me.
That's a good point. Like, for example, if you see your kid practicing an instrument each day, should be shared on instead of the time the kid shows the song that they learned.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
example, yeah.
In reality, the life
Yeah.
kind of works how we do it, right? Like
Yeah.
people care about the result; they don't care about the journey.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like how our world works, right? But
Exactly, but I think in the future that's going to help them to understand. Hey, look, I was always praised for working hard on these things.
Exactly.
So if I have a challenge now, I know I can go back to that thing of I worked hard through it.
Exactly. It kind
Right.
of builds this identity
Yeah.
in the individual to know that this is who I am.
Yeah.
You know, and
As long as we teach some work smart also, so we don't.
Exactly.
No, but
Yeah,
I
not
think
only
you
hard,
have to-
yeah,
can't forget
smart
that.
as well.
yeah, but I think like even working smart is part of working hard. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like being honest, like if you have to first of all define the terms. First of all, what is success, and then you know, it's like if success is giving the Belegabyte the best way it could be, and you know, ChatGPT is the fastest way to get the most accurate info. Like why not probably start with ChatGPT first instead of you know sitting for 4 hours not doing anything and looking at the sky waiting for inspiration. You know, like for example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So
Yeah, I just think like there can be people that work very hard, but they just never take the time to think about
What?
is this the best way?
yeah, exactly.
Taking 30 minutes to think about it and then working 2 hours instead of working 4 hours just
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so much more valuable.
It's more effective, basically.
But that's like a
So what do you guys
Personal
think
value.
about the educational system then? Because that would be my own. Because at least being someone who has come externally and come to Europe, I just think the education system here is just there are pros and cons to it. But I just don't see. Everybody keeps on saying they had bad experiences. I'm
yeah.
one
So
of the-
let me tell like I did not like school in general, like how school works. I was always I would say I was always very like mid-level in when we talk about grades. So I do love one thing about this changing it now sadly, but I love one thing about Sweden when I grew up, that we didn't have grades until 8th grade. Like you weren't graded on what you did until 8th grade.
That's really
You
good.
know what I mean? Yeah, I think it's amazing because I see no reason to put like a grade label on a kid when they're young. They need to understand when something is correct and not correct, but they
Man.
don't need a label.
I'd never heard that before. That's so good.
Interesting.
With the,
Right?
with the grades until 8th.
Honestly, because then like here I heard like, for example, Schausch, they started like 2nd or 3rd grade.
Yeah, we start from the once you get into grades, we also start grading
In
from
Spanish
the
from the
beginning.
first year.
The moment
Really?
you start, once you're no longer a baby, you leave
Imagine
the
a
baby
7-year-old hearing like,
Yeah.
oh, you got a E in math. You would be like, oh, I guess I'm horrible at math then. I
Yeah.
guess it's over.
rules. I don't
And that what happens. Yeah. And that what happens.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you have a good teacher, they wouldn't be like, man, you got the E. Like, what are you doing to get better?
Yeah.
Like, I know you can do it, but there's not many teachers that say like, oh, I believe in you. I believe you can do it.
Yeah,
Some
like-
do, but
Yeah, exactly. Which is a different conversation of like that's even a completely different conversation. I just think most teachers shouldn't be like I personally think most teachers shouldn't even be teaching. I think the best teachers
Yeah.
like let's just call it speed a speed. I think the best teachers they should just double out their salaries, and like the ones that are not teaching they should just like I know like don't want to be there because that's a lot of them because it's a hard thing. Like these kids are like killing them mentally, and most of them don't even want to be there. Which is like all jobs. A lot of people don't want to be where they are, but the few ones that should be, they should just double all their salaries and then like the other ones just get rid of them.
But that's why uni, that's a little bit late, but that's why I think uni works so much better, because in school, it's just people that, everyone is forced to be there.
Yeah.
But uni is only people that made it, mostly people
Yeah.
that made a choice. So
Yeah, exactly.
honestly, school teachers should be like the most mentoring
Yeah,
person that
exactly.
exists, right? Because these
Exactly.
people that are forced to be here, how do you get them excited to do anything?
But what of when the teacher also feels like they're forced to be there? Do you get what I mean? Like
When they
that's it.
chose that job, they should
That's
do
what-
something else then.
That's what I'm
otherwise.
saying, and that's what, and I think that's also a lot of them. It's just like
Yeah.
because they're just not
I
giving
think,
the effort.
but
As
honestly,
well.
I think after years you get like burnout. I think that's
That's which is the thing.
many, like what I heard, for example, Shao's brother that is 10 years older, they went to the same school. So Shao's brother's favorite teacher was one of Shao's worst teachers, kind of.
Yeah.
So I think, 10 years later, you're just a
Yeah.
different.
You're just a different
person.
being. That could also be the thing, but it could also just be the fact that like, maybe Charles' brother's characteristic is different. As
Also-
well, like
sure.
how you see. So, for example, how you see good and how you see bad. So, like, I could see a teacher and I'm like, oh my god, that's my best teacher, and then someone else is like, oh, I don't like that fact about him.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I feel like traits that someone else will say, oh my god, that's horrible. That guy is toxic. I'm like, I love
You
it.
want a teacher that tells you exactly how bad you are.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I know it's like I'll just get better at it quickly, But I don't know. It's different, right? It's different. It's
I
different
have
stuff.
I have a couple of thoughts also on this, like the system, right? Like so, the goal of school, what is it, right? It's not to prepare you for life. It's more focused on prepare you for.
Isn't the goal, like I'm thinking like in a big picture, if you bring like, if you zoom out and everyone is numbers, the goal of school is to make society work, right? Like you want to get
So you're
this-
functioning in society,
Right.
in a job.
Like
Or
that's the boring reality of it,
Yeah.
right? Like how does this person add value to society
Yeah.
with money or
Yeah.
labor?
And I think that's why also, like, if you know the goal that the school has, the expectations that you have from the school is also just going to be that. That's what was coming before also from the parenting side. Because if that's the goal of the school, you know that everything they're going to do is to prepare you for that.
It's to prepare you to.
But
be
doesn't mean that they're going to prepare you for being a human with certain values in an interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, they're not trying to make you exceptional. They're
Right.
trying to make you average.
And I think like that's why I agree to put more things on school, because kids spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
also, looking back, I think there's a lack of usable things that you can teach the kids, like that they can use for everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I will remove maths and then just focus on this. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like, why don't you build on that they already have enough foundation of numbers to see how can they use the numbers on the life for the future. Things
Yeah.
that they're going to use for. And as I was reflecting with Sheila, with my wife, is certain things that looking back for both of us, I think it would have been so good to have it in school. And the areas would be finances, nutrition, and communication. Like
Yeah.
communication, meaning how do you express yourself?
Yeah.
Nutrition we had.
Yeah?
Yeah, because you have like physical education,
Mm-hmm.
and then during a season, it was all about nutritions. I mean, we thought it was super boring because you just want to work out, right?
Yeah.
But we
No,
didn't
but
have it.
I'm thinking like these things are going to help you a lot. Let's say nutrition.
Yeah.
What is sugar does in your body
Mm-hmm.
over years? What is drinking these soda drinks? Or let's do anything. But at least you have information that someone has told you before, and
Yeah.
you can make decisions to do whatever you want. But there are certain people
The basics.
also like in like areas that are more poor neighborhoods, and they don't have any education. They only see from the parents what they eat in the whole life,
Yeah.
and that's what they're gonna continue to eat.
Yeah.
Things like that. So how do you break the cycle? And I think school could be like a really good factor to break that cycle. Sometimes in families
Yeah.
that don't have that from their own parents.
Yeah. That's a
And then
valid
you
point.
teach something that the parents don't agree with, and then the parents complain, and then you have
Well,
to
yeah, you always have, but at least from a point of view of like this
Yeah.
is information. Let's say finances, budgeting.
Mhm.
In your life, you're gonna need at one point to learn how to do a budget.
Yeah.
Now, when I think about it, so in school I had something called entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
which was really cool because we had to start our own company in like one semester. So you start your own company and you get, I think, 50 euros.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your budget, and then you need to do something with those 50 euros. Maybe you buy a product in China and you sell it. That was the most common thing. Or what we did, we didn't do that well. But what we did like a little agency. So we made a logo for another entrepreneur company in that class, and then made them pay
Oh,
the
that's
50
awesome.
euros. So now it's interesting when you talk about.
Yeah.
I remember that's I think was the only class for me that talked about money and how it actually disappears when you use
But
it.
we are really reinforcing then the cliches of the Swedish, like meaning like that's why education there is more advanced. I think that
Yeah.
little things makes it, because in Spain we never had anything close to that.
But I think it's interesting because Sweden, if you just look at the stats, Sweden is really bad at specific topics. But I think if you look at the big picture,
Overall.
if you look at 10 million people in Sweden and then how many big companies come
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah.
So I think Sweden, I'm guessing, is better at teaching people entrepreneurship, for example.
Yeah.
But when it comes to math, we're far down.
Yeah.
And then the other part would be that communication part that I'm thinking that for anything that you need in your life, job interview,
Yeah.
expressing your ideas, how to sell a product, like anything, you're gonna need to learn how to communicate that well.
Yeah.
I think if we are interested on the best for this generation, that would be for me like in the top 3 things to teach.
Yeah, I agree as well.
But did you not have a lot of presentations at school?
No.
Yeah, but doesn't mean that you are doing it well, and doesn't mean that no one can give you a feedback
That's
on
what
how
I
to do it
mean.
better.
We had a lot, but we never got feedbacks how
Yeah.
to make better. So
Yeah.
I think it's already exists, but the teachers need to
Yeah.
give feedback, not because we only got a grade, but don't explain like, to
Yeah.
present something better, you should start with this and you
Yeah.
should do this.
Yeah, I also just think there needs to be more depth to it, because I think with education and kids, most times it's like if you just do one term, one subject, and it's done, it's not enough. Because most times most kids are not even paying attention if you just do it once. So if you only did it, as you said, nutrition one term, you never talked about it again.
Yeah.
It's just in 1 year, out the other year, because it's
true.
but like the things that we repeated consistently. Because I remember between grade 10 and grade 12, we probably did Pythagoras and all those things related to algebra so many times that it was like by grade 12 it was already like you mentioned the thing, it's like a squared plus b squared was equal, like it's like the same thing all the time. But the point I'm just trying to make is if you have to kind of use that same, keep that same energy with all the other important things that Andres is talking about, like with presentation and talking and stuff like that, I would keep that throughout all the years. From the beginning, they have to do something that's related to a presentation, and I think that's one thing I think our university is really, really good at with practical stuff. From the beginning, we are already doing different projects. We already started building.
But university is so different.
Yeah.
Like we haven't even got into that, but I agree. Like I like university a lot.
Yeah, that's also a different combo. I agree.
But exactly, but let's go before university. If you can you finish school, and wherever you go to a marketplace to work, or you go to uni, or whatever you do, you're prepared. As working in what we said at the beginning, working in that system, prepared to function in society. Imagine being a healthy person when it comes to what you eat, how you exercise, all that.
Yeah,
you have healthy finances, and you know how to express and communicate your ideas well.
Yeah.
Like we're not, like one advantage for anything.
I exactly.
Like, and I think that's where, like, if we want to achieve that well, I don't see that really, at least not from my generation when we came out of school.
This is a stupid side thought. I wonder if healthy finances for the public is something that helps the country. I'm thinking like if everyone has bad finances, they will also spend more on stuff.
Yeah.
And then they buy more crap, which means that there's more companies. I don't know.
No, but I don't necessarily think so. I think rich people still buy excess stuff. So it's not like people who have good finances stop buying more stuff. I don't necessarily think that's the case.
I like the sidetrack of conspiracy theories.
But I guess there's some businesses that will like, okay, if everyone was nutritious and good finances, McDonald's would do really bad.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily true because I also know fit guys who just eat McDonald's as long as in the calories. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily true, but like one thing in life doesn't, like with new changes, things die, things build. Like AI now, some jobs will go, some jobs will come, but life always tends to balance itself.
Yeah,
you know?
So sure.
I don't know, like new companies will be born out of it, you know, and new companies or old companies will have to die, but it's life. It's like symbiosis.
And there's always like also the politics within the school, right? That then you have like people that think, okay, good nutrition is that, and there are people that would think, no, good nutrition is that. So then you always find attention there, right?
Yeah, but
I think that's something we would never grow out. There is just going to always exist different opinions, right?
Yeah.
And some people just don't trust the research, and some people are paid to do research. I mean, it's
and then
it's so complicated.
But something I also read was that any research that is done, that we based all of the things that we mentioned research, right? That we mentioned things, papers that have been written in any field. They've always been done with a purpose to show something that you want to show.
Yeah.
Right? So it's many research that we never see or they never come to light because they never showed.
They didn't show what they wanted.
What they wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's also a bit of the
that's true.
cycle. Like, yeah, we can always show our research to prove a point that we want to prove.
Yeah.
And you can always show up opposite research to prove the opposite point.
It's very true.
Yeah, I think.
But that makes it's a good point. What we should teach, what people should learn, is how to look at. Is it called empiric evidence? Is that the word?
Empirical.
That's a fancy.
Empirical evidence.
Like, for example, if a research is done on 10 people, like you need to know that doesn't mean that it's.
Yeah.
It's
everyone.
true,
Yeah.
right? If it's done on 100,000 people, that's more likely it's a general sense than
which countries and which part of the world and all
what
of
types
things,
of people, and there's so many factors, and that's what makes it complicated.
But that's what I mean. Always the research are made to prove something like so you choose your.
It's like recommended by 9 out of 10 dentists.
Yeah.
Who's the 10th dentist?
Yeah.
Who is that guy, right?
Yeah, who's the guy that didn't recommend it?
Like how did they find him? Like
yeah, I don't know. I think the only way to solve this problem would probably be like not teaching opinions, but just teaching everything. So for example, it's like instead of rather saying like this is the best way to do nutrition, like Andrew said, it would be maybe talking more about like these are carbohydrates. This is what happens to your cells when it has carbohydrates. These are protein. This is what happens to yourself when you... Whether or not you should eat carbohydrates 10, 20, 100 times a day, maybe you don't have to talk about
Everyone should have diabetes for a year. That's my new point. Everyone gets diabetes for a year.
How do you do that? How do you do that though? How do you...
No, but okay, but then with all of this, in light of all of this, let's agree then at least that
High school is messed up.
Like no, in general, in general speaking, right? Most of the parents will want the best for the kids,
Yeah.
right? Even if they
Yeah.
don't know how to give them the best.
Yes.
But I think that at least we can acknowledge that intention is there.
Yeah.
But then we cannot say that everyone in school is going to want the best for your kid. You're going to want the
Exactly.
best for the group, the worst for the class.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about the two things working together. It's not canceling each other.
Yeah.
It needs to work together and both agreeing, because I'm a parent now.
Yeah.
I see things so different than what I
Yeah.
thought 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm thinking already about school. I'm thinking already, and I don't want to impose my views, but I want to be a positive influence, knowing that I want the best for my
your
kid.
And I
Even
think-
at Kita, right? You're like,
Yeah,
oh, what
even at
Kita
Kita.
should, yeah,
I
exactly.
can already see, and Joy is so smart. What you say,
Yeah.
Joy knows. Like they have like 3, 4 Kita teachers.
Mhm.
She likes two.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't like the other two.
Yeah.
That's
Why?
fine.
Straight.
You know why? Why is that connection? Why is that she sees? So maybe she picks up something already
Yeah.
at that age, that this person maybe is more interested in me than the other, or
Yeah, or you smell
Some-
bad, you know?
or something
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
But it's already like it's so funny, like already
Yeah,
to
it's
see that.
interesting.
Yeah. Yesterday was a Elton Abend,
Yeah.
and Sheila was with the parents.
Like bring your parent kind of thing.
Exactly,
Bring a parent.
and I was with the kid. I was with Joy in the playground.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny, like the whole parents dynamic. Sorry, like I'm
Is it
so
awkward?
out of my depth into all of that.
Yeah.
So I was. It's a huge sandbox, like a sandcastle, and I'm sitting. I was just like, okay, Joy is so happy that I was there. It was 1 hour the meeting, so I was outside.
Just
Sheila was in the
loving
meeting,
it.
and so I just sat down with Joy,
Mm-hmm.
playing with the kids, playing with the sand, and I'm like, oh man, this is so funny. So I was having fun, and then the kids come with, and all the other kids from the other parents they're with me playing, and the parents are just in the edge, like just watching,
Ah, okay, yeah. They were chilling.
just chilling, and then some of the teachers just like coming close and talking to me, and I'm like, oh, and then suddenly I'm like with 5, 6, 7, 8 kids around me,
Building a big sandcastle
Yeah.
together.
and
Yeah.
talking to me, you know, like, please don't destroy this. It's a track for the. It's I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, how come- and I'm like suddenly like working with
Yeah,
like
working with them.
with
yeah.
them.
Mhm.
It's just interesting. I don't know. I just.
But that's
thought
why I
that-
think, because I think generally, like kids like me also, and I think it's a similar reason, because I think I'm just such a kid in my head, right?
Yeah.
So I enjoy building a sandcastle.
I enjoy it so
Yeah.
much.
it's like,
yeah.
it's like I think, and I think like many parents maybe they enjoy it, but they haven't done it, or like
Yeah.
it's like, you know, or maybe they don't hate it, you know,
Yeah.
maybe they don't
Yeah.
like that.
I don't know, like exactly, but that's why I think it's very important to have a school that wants the best for your kid, like Andrew said, because in my opinion, for example, I think the best schools are also the ones that kind of want the best for your kid. So for example, it sounds super weird, but I think, for example, an Ivy League like Harvard, it's in their intention that you are the best, not because they care about you, but because they want Harvard's standard to be upheld. And I think that's really cool, because in those scenarios, you kind of have the selfish intention of the school and maybe the selfish intention of the parent are kind of
Aligning.
aligned.
Yeah, right.
So it's like
a
business
win-win.
deals. It's a win-win for both people, because not necessarily because you're trying to fake that I care about you, but it's because
Yeah.
my selfish interests and your selfish interests are
Yeah.
on the same plane,
Yeah.
right? But also it's like, let's be honest here. It's not like Harvard makes the best students. They just pick the best students from the beginning. They pick
And
the smartest
they
ones, and
most
then they just
likely
like
they most likely get one of the best teachers, right? Because they
Boom.
maybe can pay best,
exactly.
and it's cool to
Yeah.
be a teacher. Like it's
They just
It's
figured
how
out
it
the
works,
hack.
right?
They just figured the hack of like, if we pick the best students, we have the most money, we pay the best teachers,
Yeah.
we have the strongest alumni. It just creates this cycle of like, why do we have to pick so we just create this super high barrier, only keep the best of the best, only have the best of the best teachers, and then we just set the standard.
Yeah.
But I think in those scenarios, I think is in the parents' intention to think of like, okay, what's actually this school's intention? Are they just trying to make my kid average? Because it's like, I don't know. Like here, the public schools are really good. In our country, the private schools were the ones that were really good. So what's the intention? Because our parents, for us, one thing they like paid was for education the most. They paid out of their noses, like just to make sure that we had the chance to have the highest education, because you can't go cheap on that. Because once you have that, I compare myself to other kids who we were on the same level when we were younger, and then once you come out of high school, it's completely different, because the level of education is way different, because the school's intention is for you to kind of dominate society so that they can be like, we produce the best.
But you must know some Nigerians that went to normal school and then are here now studying like you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. 100. I think it has nothing to do with whether you're studying abroad or not. I think it has more to do with the fact of like what kind of like how do you see life? What kinds of intentions? How do you move about it? Because there are still people who study abroad and are trash.
You know, like another thought on education, and maybe like just to because I had so many thoughts lately.
But that's very interesting because I would call myself trash at education. So I think that's really interesting. Like what you value then, right?
I don't mean trash at education. I mean because I don't also think I'm the best at education. I just think I'm good at hard work. So I think I can define
that mindset. Is hard to learn.
Okay, but would you say that comes from your parents or from the school?
I think that comes from my parents, and I think school was an opportunity for me to prove that. Right. So I think my parents instilled that thing in me of like, you can do whatever you want if you put the effort, and school was an opportunity to practice that and get feedback. So I couldn't practice it with my parents. So my parents would be like, you see this thing here, you can do it, and then school would be the place you apply it, you get feedback. So that's when your parents' words have the strongest meaning. Because they are not just telling you, but they are telling you something, but you get feedback from something else. Yeah. For example, just to quickly, like, that's why I also think the best compliments are the ones that are true. Because then you really feel it. The best, like someone kind of motivating you or someone encouraging you is when they are telling the truth and you know internally what this guy's saying is actually true. And I think that's why it was helpful, in my own personal opinion. That's why I was like, that's your job as the parent. And I think the school's job is to give you the opportunity to try those things out and fail in a controlled environment or succeed in a controlled environment. As I say, like I also don't think I'm that smart. I think I'm actually very average. I just think I'm good at hard work and defining what success or failure is quickly.
Yeah,
that's a good point. What did you want to say?
No, I just another thought, because we talked about like a bit of preschool, school and uni, right? Yep. So I think when it comes to just to wrap up a bit like this thought that we value a lot teachers and professors. The more you are into, okay, let's say uni, we value these people a lot, like value that they bring to society, right? Or then school or high school, right? And then preschool is kind of like a lower category. Yeah. Even in Germany, they're not considered like teachers.
What is preschool
like
in your head?
Kita, like
Kita.
Like 2 to
like
to 6, right?
Kindergarten. So you guys know what Kita means, that not German.
Yeah. So that means like they're like Erzieher. They're not even considered like in the level of teachers. Yeah. And I agree when it comes from like a.
Are they state-owned Kitas?
That's a good question.
Not all of them, but the state helped.
Do you think
so? You receive help from the state to put. At least in Berlin, it's like that. Not everywhere is like that.
Okay. Yeah. But majority of them are private or what? Or like partially, mostly private.
But they receive
probably how you earn good money to be private.
They receive help from the state, and also even if you have kids with different this handicapped or different disabilities, that they have like they receive more money from the state. Yeah. For things like that as well. So there's a lot of like I know a bit of that because Sheila's sister is on. She worked in a Kita as well. Yeah.
You want to start a Kita, right? And pay them really well.
I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, 100K a year.
I think it would be awesome.
And you pay no taxes.
Only rich kids.
Yeah, but who would not want to put the kids in a Kita like that?
No, and who wouldn't want to work for 100K a year?
Easy. Exactly. And you pay no taxes. I heard that teachers here don't pay taxes.
But now let's go back to the research-based things. Is that every research that is coming out about the intelligence of a child starts with the intellectual intelligence that you learn at school is going to be built on the emotional intelligence that develops only on these first years of life. So meaning if your emotional intelligence is really low, it's going to be really difficult to build on top of it the intellectual intelligence. And I can put the book later to reference because I'm like,
I don't even remember those years 4 to 6 or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, I don't remember those.
But if we know now that it's so important, why don't we put more attention? I would say like I would put way better more. I would like to hear from a teacher that is teaching my kid in that years in the Kita to say, you know, I'm reading these books, the research that I'm reading, that's the way we want to teach. This is the program based on these things that we want to achieve, develop this part of the brain, develop this emotional intelligence, interaction with each other. I would be so happy to hear something like that and not, we're just going to entertain them until they get to school.
But don't you think, I think Kita is too hard. Like, it's too hard. Firstly, I don't think they get paid.
I know.
I'm guessing they don't get paid enough, right? But even if you're passionate about it, like spending whatever it is 6 hours with kids screaming around you. I heard you have 10 kids per teacher in Akita. That's what Anna said. You like our friend that worked in Akita.
Yeah, I think we have our
it's
kit is a bit different. I think we have like 15 in the group, and it's probably only 2 minimum, 2 to 3 teachers there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that may be
But still, you have more
7.
than 5
Yeah.
kids per teacher,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I can't handle 1 kid. How do you handle 5 kids
Yeah.
at one and like give them attention?
But it's interesting because there is a really interesting the group dynamics. They copy each other.
like the
I-
kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, they go to sleep together at the same time. They just
So
put music,
funny.
switch off the lights, put the mattresses on the floor,
Yeah.
and they go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because they see one is doing it, the other one does it. So it's really interesting when they works in a group
That's how
dynamic.
humans work, right? You know,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
me and Joshua would go start throwing trash down the balcony, you will think about to do the same. Maybe you're like, maybe I should do the same.
Oh my God.
Oh, some videos
Yeah.
on that, like super funny.
So-
but I think like my point was I would definitely be up for like imagining like in the next 10, 20 years there is a change into putting way more value on kindergarten teachers. Like at least same value as in the school, same pay.
Yeah.
Really. Because I think otherwise we are diminishing the importance of these years. Thinking no, they start to learn when they are in 6, 7 years old. Where they're gonna learn everything's gonna be built on these first 6 years.
Yeah.
And I think like that's for me at least one observation. I don't know how practically would that look like, what change needs to happen. But if there's anyone listening that I just want to value a lot the work that they do because it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think it's important.
That's good. I'm honestly, this podcast went everywhere, but it was a fun one.
No,
But I think we
it's-
have to wrap up this in time, otherwise.
It's only 2 hours.
Yeah,
so
we have
like,
to we have to.
Are we
turn this
doing part
into
2
a-
of this
part
or
two
what?
part
Like we
two,
have
yeah.
to talk about
I-
like do you want to go to uni?
I would love to talk about uni stuff.
Like
Yeah.
Let's
should you
let's
just
call
go-
this part 1, and then
Yeah.
we'll see if we do a part 2. If people like it, we'll do
Uni
a part 2.
focus, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I'll cut the whole tech part in the
Yeah.
beginning. or
Yeah,
we-
yes.
For the people listening, we talked about tech for 30 minutes.
Yeah, easy.
Maybe I keep it.
Maybe depends. We do have a lot of tech guys here, so
Yeah.
it might
Yeah,
be
maybe
not be a
they like
problem. But I think it would be cool to talk about school. Should
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
should I drop out? Should I not even ever start studying?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what Andres is saying. That's why it's so important. By high school, they already have the vital things to go forward. Because
Yeah.
actually, I don't think you necessarily need like uni should be a must. But there are pros and cons to it. I won't lie.
Because
Yeah.
we all have different experience also. Like
Yeah.
I did 2 years uni, you are doing a bachelor or planning to do bachelor,
Yeah.
and you did a
5
bachelor.
years, yeah.
You're a master kind of then, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the
Was
same-
master and bachelor before together, and then was 5 years.
Yeah, diploma
kind of
kind of
Right.
thing,
yeah.
right?
So
Yeah,
you-
exactly.
it was the same time as a master.
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is
Then I was the last generation that did it like that,
Oh,
and then
yeah?
it changed into 3 years bachelor and
2-year masters.
See,
Same
master.
with I was the last year doing 2 years, and it became 3 years the year after.
yeah, because exactly it was the European.
yeah.
Join
But they
the
just
notes,
they just added a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
but
They had to do it because
Same,
I
yeah.
I didn't have to do a thesis because I
Mhm.
didn't do a bachelor, but now you have,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
yeah,
Never mind. Let's do some sick pics to wrap this day off.
yeah.
I'm gonna quick sick pick
Mhm.
the book that I was mentioning. So I'm not gonna mention the title and the author. You're just gonna look in the link.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask Sheila for like a couple of books or one good book that we're
Mhm.
listening to.
Mhm.
Put the link, and then people can double check all the things that I talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
That's-
okay.
that's it.
And the my sick pictures.
Wait, I missed it. Did you say the title?
No, I'm just not gonna say it because I think it's called The Brain of the Kids, but I don't want to say it
Okay,
wrong.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're
So-
sick picking a book
Yeah.
about raising kids.
It's probably in
Yeah.
Spanish, so yeah.
Yeah, but I think they probably have an English version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm also sick picking a book I'm rereading right now. It is called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Can't hurt me.
Yeah, Can't Hurt Me is basically about this guy who.
Can't touch me.
No.
What is it about?
It's about this guy who he was a Navy SEAL, really had a horrible upbringing life, and just basically turned that into basically what he said is like he feels like God made him the weakest person on earth, and basically his job was to make sure he was the hardest person on earth. He said he doesn't know if he achieved that, but at least he's trying.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of his mindset. It's basically this whole concept of kind of giving like your all and like having a super solid go
It
getter
sounds like
mindset.
right up your alley.
Yeah, for sure. This is
Yeah.
definitely all like I eat this stuff up for breakfast. So that was really good. I think it was just I read the first time I read the book. I probably read it in like 3-4 days.
Wow. Listen to it or read it?
No, read it.
Read it.
But it was COVID time. It was like It was the
mhm.
book entirely is like 260 pages or so. I read like
Good
60
size.
pages a day or
Did
something
you
like
did
that.
you read it also double speed?
No. I think you can do it. I also don't think I'm that fast a reader, honestly speaking. But
It's practice, right? So like,
yeah, I guess it is. But also, I heard that if you want to get good at reading, you have to like stop saying the words in your mind. You just have to look.
but that's like also some people learn differently, right? So if you actually want to remember the stuff, sometimes you need to say it. Or
Yeah, but
I
we're
don't
talking
know.
about like speed reading now.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Exactly. Like,
maybe
uh-huh.
like a I don't know what do you call it, roman? What is it called in English?
Just like a I forgot.
No.
Why do I speak Swedish?
Novella. And so
No,
It's
yeah,
a
novel.
novel.
Yeah,
I guess a novel would make more sense. You don't have to remember.
Yeah, it just goes. But I know exactly. I know someone had told me that actually, if you want to get better at like reading quicker, you have to stop like saying the words in your mind. Like, because when I'm reading, I'm kind of reading it aloud in my mind of like, and then he went to this to do this. To do this. Whereas it's like the first guys, they just like,
Yeah, I heard like you read usually 50% of the word and then skip
And then
because your
skip.
brain does the rest.
yeah, exactly, something like that.
That's cool.
But yeah, whatever. But I thought that's my sick pick. Just because I
Good
think
one. The title again?
Can't Hurt Me.
Can't Hurt Me.
Funny enough, he came out with a new book recently, but I haven't bought it all ready to put.
It's called I'm Hurt.
No, I think it's really something else, but it's something related
second
to
part.
the guy runs a lot. He runs like he runs a lot, like 100 what they call it, 100 miles, crazy runs, run for 24 hours, stuff like that.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
definitely really interesting stuff. I don't know if I would go that extreme, but he's not telling you to go extreme. I think he's just saying like, look, everybody, you're probably around at 40% of your current capacity. Where you are right now is probably 40%.
Yeah.
You could go another 60. When you think you are dead, that's 40. You need to like up that and like, and he's just like, see, if you are in school, give that school your all. If you are, because I think the guy ended up going back to do like masters or something again. And this guy, there are like videos of him just sitting down and just reading a 1,000-page book. I'm just like, interesting. It's just an interesting way to live life, you know, like giving it your all kind of thing. Because
Yeah.
of recent, I've been like, bro, like why else are we living if not giving it your all? So I thought it was cool,
Yeah.
but it's also nothing. It's nothing that special because it's just like you still need to take action. But it's cool. It's cool to see.
No, it's good.
Awesome.
I'm gonna pick my monitor stand.
Nice.
So I know we've all seen it
yeah.
exactly.
I
So
showed
we
it to
already
the
know.
guys before.
It was
It's-
like subtle flex. It was a subtle flex. It was like, guys, come and see the best stand you've ever seen in your life.
Exactly. Yes, I have a really nice monitor. Like the monitor is a screen for your computer, and I bought a stand for it. Like a like an arm, so you put it on the desk and then you can move it everywhere. And I'm having one of the laziest setups now, so I move it all the way to the front of the desk. I tilt it, and then I sit down in a beanbag on the floor, and I just vibe. I play some
Oh,
Zelda
man.
and
That's
having
awesome.
fun. Yeah, that's my sick pick.
No, that's solid.
Get-
That's good.
It's nice because but honestly, what it does help with is gives you more space on the desk
Yeah.
because there's no monitor stand there that
Right.
takes up,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you
Yeah,
can just
yeah.
push it back and then you have your full desk.
No,
Nice.
I really
Quite
love
nice.
your desk setup. I'm serious. Like, if Isaac made like a widget thing or like a thing of like,
I pay attention to it. Yeah.
honestly, I would.
Yeah.
have
Widget?
No, I don't know, like a widget or like how would I probably put this? Like an online catalog. And like an online catalog, and you could refresh and you call it Isaac's best or Isaac's recommended, right? And then you recommend, I don't know, every new season. So like obviously you can't do it every week or every month because like stuff changes all
I'm a
the
tech
time.
YouTuber then.
Yeah, exactly. But and you don't have to be a YouTuber. You could just be like a guy that recommends really cool tech stuff. Because I also follow a couple of people, and like the stuff they recommend, I'm like, bro, you don't see this everywhere because you have your own touch to the things you have around you. And personally, I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Like if you say like, oh yeah, I become a consultant of this thing, I'm like, people will buy this thing because there's a kind of person that's like, honestly, I think Isaac's recommendations are really the best. And look, everybody, Alberto is asking.
Maybe we can do a Patreon for this podcast, and then it's Isaac's top 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm
When
gonna
you-
give
when you're a
I'm gonna
month,
give a
yeah.
free one.
Yeah.
So the beamer I'm using, the projector, is only I think 130 euros on Amazon, and it works so well.
Yeah.
130 euros, and if you don't put a screen beside it and compare it, you won't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, you get a like
really
a
good.
movie cinema at home for 130 euros.
And it's quite big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Projection.
it's like
Yeah, yeah.
130 or 120
Yeah.
inch, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's my tip. You don't have to be rich to have a beamer,
Yeah, you
projector. Sorry,
Yeah.
German.
A Beamer.
Good.
Yeah, I think Beamer. What does Beamer mean in English? People use Beamer for like cars.
It's a BMW.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Check if you're listening on audio. Remember, we are on YouTube if
Yeah.
you prefer that.
Check us
So
out.
if you like to look at us while we watch, please check it out. We're on YouTube. Otherwise, See you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.